Today, we're diving into a pretty controversial take on dating. It's all laid out in a text called The Strategic Case for Dating Younger Women, and we're going to break down exactly what it argues.
Now, just to be clear, our goal here isn't to say this view is right or wrong. We're here to explain it. So we're going to walk through the main arguments one by one. We'll look at the strategy itself, the biological case it tries to make, how it sees relationship dynamics, and then finally, the big picture worldview that kind of ties it all together.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Part 1 is all about the strategy itself. We've got to set the stage here so we can understand the framework we're dealing with. And again, we're sticking exclusively to the reasoning laid out in this specific text. The idea is to really deconstruct the philosophy, piece by piece, so we can see exactly how the argument is put together from the ground up.
All right, moving on to the second part, the biological argument. Now, this is really where the source text tries to anchor its entire case by grounding it in claims about evolution and attraction.
So the text kicks things off with this really stark metaphor. Men age like fine wine, women age like milk. And this isn't just a throwaway line, it's the absolute foundation for the entire argument about how value and attraction are supposed to work over time.
And building on that wine versus milk idea, the source makes some really specific claims. First, it says a woman's biological attractiveness and fertility, they peak somewhere between 18 and 26. Then it compares that to men, saying their peak, defined by things like power, wealth, and confidence, doesn't really hit until their 30s. So the argument it's making is that men are just hitting their prime right as women are supposedly past theirs. A total mismatch in timelines, according to this view.
And this is the real kicker for the whole biological argument. The source argues that this attraction to youth, it isn't just a social trend or, a personal preference. No, it's presented as a deeply hardwired evolutionary impulse, something that's supposedly baked into our biology, signifying vitality and fertility.
Okay, on to part 3, which is all about experience and relationship dynamics. So, the natural question is, how does this biological framework translate into how partners are supposed to act in a relationship? Let's see.
This quote from the text really captures the whole idea. An older woman may ask, "Why should I follow you?" While a younger woman asks, "How far can you take me?" You see the difference it's drawing? One is framed as a challenge, a question of authority. The other is framed as an invitation, a desire for guidance and, adventure.
The text argues these different attitudes come directly from life experience. It describes younger women as being more playful, nurturing, and curious. On the other hand, it portrays older women as being more guarded, maybe carrying what it calls emotional baggage. So the ideal dynamic, from this point of view, is one where there's admiration, not competition. The author makes it clear they prefer a partner who is supportive, not one who is a challenger.
All right, last part. Let's pull back and look at the big picture, the underlying worldview. This is the core philosophy that really holds all of these different arguments together. And it all really comes down to this one term, hypergamy. Now, the way the text uses this word, it means the idea that women are naturally, biologically attracted to men of higher status, men with more experience, more power, more direction in life. So this concept is used to justify the age gap dynamic. It's framed not as something negative, but as a completely natural alignment of what both men and women are supposedly looking for. So when you stitch it all together, the biology, the dynamics, the idea of hypergamy, you end up with a worldview that sees relationships in a very specific way. It's not just about that fuzzy feeling of chemistry. No, it's a strategic playing field, one that's governed by what the source claims are these unshakable forces of evolution, gender roles, and power dynamics.
And all of this really leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What does it mean to apply these kinds of strategic, almost game theory-like frameworks to something as personal and human as our relationships? What are the implications of that? It's definitely something to chew on. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure you subscribe to our channel for more explainers just like this one.